Friday, July the 26th, gang. This was another tough week, I think. Another challenging week, I should say. The good kind of challenging. We have another complex for us to do today with the snatch. So let's talk about that first. Only because the snatch complex today lends itself very well to what we're doing in the Metcon. So it bears maybe some explanation. Last week, our snatch drills, so we'll call it, had two parts to it, right? We did like the complex and then we did the thing. And today it's more like all combined into one. So the complex itself is a high hang snatch, a low hang snatch, and then a full from the ground squat snatch. These are all squats, by the way. So that has implications. That's, in theory, 15 squat snatches in a relatively short amount of time, and at ramping weights. So that's a challenging strength day for us, a challenging Ollie specific day. So if anyone was thinking it's just every week going to be part A, part B, sometimes those two parts will be combined. Now, the whole thing with today's strength is that if you can, we want you holding on to the barbell for all three parts of that complex. Maybe in like rounds 4 or 5, you might have to put it down between parts, but you won't be able to, or you shouldn't have to put it down in the workout, which is why we're doing these two things on the same day. So the WOD today is just 10 rounds of, you could think of it like another barbell complex, 4 deadlifts, 3 hang power snatches, 2 overhead squats. And, you know, we can talk about the deadlifts in a second, but that hang power snatch part in the middle, it stands to reason you should have a weight on that barbell today where you can do that for 3. And that means hanging on to it. Does it necessarily mean cycling it? Not necessarily, not by the definition of like right back into it. You might need to pause a second or two before each rep. But it should be a challenging enough weight at either 115 for men, 75 for ladies, or lighter, that you think you can do all 3 power snatches, hang power snatches, and then also stand a chance of going right into 2 overhead squats. So that's kind of the needle that we're asking you to thread today when it comes to choosing a loading on today's WOD barbell. We're not saying you have to do 3 hang power snatches and 2 overhead squats unbroken every round. We're saying you should be able to, particularly while fresh. Now let's talk about the rest of the WOD. It does have a 15-minute cap today, and you might be thinking to yourself that this is a volume that's so small that it shouldn't need a cap that big. And yet it does. And we want to push people to challenge themselves to heavier weights, under that same sort of guidance of how you should be choosing the loading. But to the extent that it might take a little while. And let's go into the deadlifts first. First things first, you will be limited on the barbell, meaning limited as to how much weight you can put on the barbell by probably your overhead squat, but maybe your ability to do 3 consecutive hang power snatches. So one of those 2 movements will limit what loading can go on the bar. But no matter what you end up with, even if I just said the heaviest weight's 115 for men, 75 for ladies, that represents a small, light deadlift for everyone. I feel confident in saying that. So the deadlift should be unbroken, but the question really has to be, what kind of deadlift do you do? Because snatch grip deadlifts makes a lot of sense today, and I'm not going to enforce one way or the other. Snatch grip is the way to do it, to be strategic for those of you guys who like feel good about turning this into a 7-8 rep complex. But still others might just choose to do a traditional deadlift and then reset themselves before the hang power snatch. Or you could do a combination of the 2. You could do 3 traditional deadlifts, reset, do your 4th deadlift with a snatch grip, and then go right into your hang power snatches. That's how I tried it a couple of times. I was kind of all over the place. Eventually, I didn't do this as a 8 rep complex until rounds 9 and 10. It just takes a lot out of you, this one. It definitely, each round takes a lot out of you, just the time under tension, the overhead squats, all of those things. But it was probably in round 3 when I realized myself testing this that snatch grip deadlifts were the way to go for me personally. I did feel like I could do, even if I did them, DT style. This whole workout lends itself to DT very well, right? Meaning you could do 3 deadlifts and then do your fourth, and take a rest and do your 4th deadlift in the service of doing some power snatches. Likewise, you could do 2 hang power snatches, and then you have to do a bonus deadlift, but do your third, take a break, do your 3rd hang power snatch in the service of going right into your overhead squats. The only thing we probably can't abide today is needing to break up the overhead squats at any point. If you have to break up a set of 2, that barbell's probably too heavy for you. All right. 15-minute cap. I really don't want anybody to need that. That's more like, hey, it's Friday. Let's all end the week on a high note. Nobody get capped. It took me 8 and change, and that made me feel good about a 15-minute cap. So hopefully it makes you feel good about it too. But again, I think we might have some people once again this week who use a completely separate barbell for the overhead squats. That's fine, as long as we're making quick transitions to it. But for those of you who don't need to do that, I want to really challenge ourselves to how heavy we can go today. The way that I was able to do that, I'm not the greatest snatcher, we talked about this, but so I just needed a little extra time between rounds, which is why felt like it took a lot out of me, right? I felt fine, and I'll say the same thing today. I don't need 10, 15-second rests on the barbell. I need enough rests so that you, A, will finish under the cap, and B, when it's time to move that barbell, you're really moving it. So not gonna exactly tell you what to do, just that I think this workout works best the closer you can get to those no heavier than weights, as long as you can do it. Again, if you couldn't, while fresh, do 3 hang power snatches right into 2 overhead squats, then it's too heavy. Please don't test us like that. All right, enjoy.